What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Live Beyond Average podcast, episode number 83.
83.
Dustin Luebke, man.
Today, we're going to talk about some hunting clothes, camo patterns, layering, kind of what we do and what we found that works out.
Perfect. I'm in. Let's start with you, since I got you on the Sitka train. It didn't take me that long to get you on the train, and I'll talk about who got me on the train and why we use that. And obviously, there's other great systems out there that are similar. But tell me a little bit about what you used to use before you transferred to Sitka and some of your laying system. And just tell me what you're doing now.
So now, like you said, I did the full, Sitka system. Kind of bought into that, and I was really hesitant because it's really expensive. And then I started looking I have like a little hunting closet that has all my clothes in it, and I had various,
it's pretty big.
I had various different types of camo, patterns of camo, thicknesses of clothes, and I started looking, and I was like, I've got a ton of money just scattered throughout in all different aspects. And then my wife can attest. She's like, hey, maybe you should consolidate down a little bit and get some closet space back. And once I started doing that, I started, Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace, all my old stuff, which definitely, you gain your finances up and you can start buying some of that stuff.
Yeah.
And I didn't buy it all brand new at a department store. I've got a lot of it off eBay, which there's some good stuff on there, good quality used stuff. That being said, once I started really buying into the layering system is kind of when I started to see the difference.
For sure.
I used to be the old cotton long handles you pull on, and you get those things sweaty and you're cold all day long.
Pull them coveralls on, a heavy coat, dude.
Yeah.
With a hoodie on underneath.
Yeah, exactly. Same thing with socks. You put the big, thick wool socks on.
Yep.
And that just doesn't work for all aspects. And
not if you're a hiker.
Activity level is probably the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Even when I found, sitting in a tree stand, the hike in.
Right.
Obviously, most of us don't have the big tower stand where we can pull a four-wheeler up and park right underneath the stand and sit there and hunt. So we park quite a ways out, and if you're bundled up for a little bit of colder weather, you hike in there all bundled up. By the time you get there, you're sweating.
Every time.
And that sweat is the worst thing because your body, you lose heat 25 times faster if you're wet.
Yeah.
So when you start sweating, you're just setting yourself up for a cold sit.
And then when you're below freezing temps, it's nasty.
Makes for a long day.
It's tough to warm back up. Me and Matthew always joke about, because we get to a few of our spots and we park in this little area, and then we have a couple mile hike in a lot of our spots that we go to. And we always joke about, right when we get there, usually it's still dark, obviously. We're getting in the dark, we got a little hike in the dark, and usually one of us steps out to take a leak or something right when you get there, and usually we always allow this 10-minute window where we just kick our seat back for 10 minutes and lay there and I don't want to go on this hike kind of thing. It's kind of our little routine. And every time we're always it is so cold outside. But our rule of thumb is you always leave the truck cold.
Yep.
It's funny, we always you get a random windy morning in South Dakota where it feels extra cold, and you're oh, I need this one extra layer. And you walk 200 yards, and it's hold up, dude. You put on one too many layers, didn't you? And just one guy rags the other guy, because it's no, trust the layering system. And now that we've been doing it this is 4 or 5 years of using it, when you start to trust that system and you leave the truck cold because you warm up so fast when you're hiking and walking, that it just keeps your body temperature a little bit better regulated. You're not working up that huge sweat. And the minute you get there, boom, throw on a little layer, sit there for another 15 minutes, start cooling down, boom, throw on another layer. It works super well, but that's the one rule of thumb I have.
Let's go away from the brand.
Yeah.
And just start with basics. Mm-hmm. So what do you do, like basics? Putting on your skivvies in the morning.
Okay, so let's just talk like you were gonna build up from ground zero, like it was cold out. Because then obviously you guys can take the same methods for warmer weather hunts, right? For September hunts. Okay. So cold weather, first thing I'm doing, like building up, is I usually have a merino layer on. Like that's my first thing I have. Is I have a nice pair of like merino bottoms. They're super thin. They're not heavy weight, so they're not like feeling like they're bogging your leg mobility down at all. For the top, I actually have I wear a light sleeve, like it's like a meshy style shirt, like it's my early season shirt.
Right.
I throw that on, and I throw the merino on. Like I have a merino quarter zip that I throw over top of that, just because I don't like just the merino. Like I like that. For me, I like that one layer in between.
Right.
So I put on that like lightweight mesh shirt that doesn't weigh anything, and then the merino over top. I feel like I don't sweat up that merino so bad.
Sure.
Kind of thing is why I do that. So, how about you? Same thing?
Same thing. Same thing. I actually wear the merino bottoms pheasant hunting quite a bit.
Sure.
Because I'll just wear like the upland pants.
Right.
I like the chaps when I hunt. Yep. Because they protect you a lot, but they get really hot. So I'll wear the upland pants and the merino. So I wear them a ton. They get a ton of use throughout the season. But I like the merino because it's not super hot. It doesn't like trap heat in next to you.
Yep.
So you can start out, earlier in the season with that.
Yes.
And it's not as, my legs don't quite get as cold as like your upper body, your core. And if my core starts to get cold, that's when I start to get cold. But yeah, same thing. I'll put the merino on base right away, but I like to have a little thin layer of some like moisture wicking t-shirt.
Yeah,
I try and stay away from heavy cotton t-shirts on the base layer.
Yeah.
Because I feel like once they get wet, they just stay wet and you just can't dry out.
100% right. It's not going to dry. Whereas like if you hike in and you have like, let's say you hiked in with your merino on, which a lot of times we do just to keep that little crisp off the skin, like, but you build that sweat up, like literally you can stand there in the wind and dry off in minutes. You get a little cold, but it dries off, and then you can throw your layer on.
Yep.
And that's the great thing about that.
Yes.
So I actually utilize merino in September quite a bit in the first like 45 minutes of the morning, and like it just keeps that little crisp of the air off the skin, and then it's too warm to wear it, but it's nice for that first hour.
Right.
So, okay, so what's step number 2?
Then typically, unless it's really cold, I keep my legs cool. Because I think, unless I'm tree stand hunting, if I'm tree stand hunting, then I'm gonna throw another layer on of some sort of thicker, like long underwear style.
Yep.
A little bit heavier weight. I'll throw that on. But if I'm spot and stock hiking, I'll throw a pair of tall socks on.
Sure.
And not put another layer on that way.
Yep.
And so then it's just basically my upper legs that only have one layer, but I still have one. As far as upper goes, same thing, a little bit heavier weight, but form-fitting t-shirt, or not t-shirt, but long sleeve shirt.
Sure.
And then that one, typically I'll either do like a hooded sweatshirt style after that, or just another long sleeve.
Yeah.
But those are also ones that I'll throw in my pack and I'll put on one once I get there.
Yeah, exactly.
And like you said, the worst is, overdressing right away.
Exactly. Like what you said with the higher sock, like in November, like when I'm rut mule deer hunting and it can be nasty cold, like I love the higher, like I use the Kenetrek Alaskas, and they're like, right up below the knee, but it's like you can get away with not putting on, like, I know we're not talking specific brand, because every brand has their own system, but like for me, I use like that merino, and then I have like a heavyweight length, that's like another layer, base layer, but it's just a heavier weight. I'll use that, or like you said, like you can get away with that sock, that at least you get those a little extra warmth from the sock. I love to do like I use that I use the Jetstream Sitka vest over top of that merino at this point, like, because it's that wind blocker, and I love having that on the core.
Yep.
I can tell the difference when you have some brand that has like some type of wind stopper.
Yep.
Like get that, and I like to have that on next. It works really well.
I haven't been a vest guy. I just got one this off season. That was one of my like 3 clothing purchases, just because you and other guys I've talked to, they're like, yeah, you can wear your merino with that vest.
It's sweet.
And hiking out there, you keep your core warm, and your arms will stay warm if your core is warm on your hike wherever you're going.
Yep, that merino with that vest, or the merino with like heavyweight quarter zip and then the vest.
Yeah,
like type, because a lot of times you can get away with just those for a big portion of your day when you're hiking around. You don't even need to throw on a jacket over top of that, because you have that warmth system with that windbreaker over the core, and it is sweet.
Right,
It works really well.
That says a lot too for sitting in a tree. I mean, you get some wind, and if you can keep that core warm, sitting there, because you're obviously not moving as much, not hiking as much,
and the wind is a playing factor in that. Like,
yes.
No offense, 10 degrees to me is not cold if it's dead still.
Right.
10 degrees is not that bad. If you have good, nice little clothes, nice warm clothes on, not bad. You get 10 degrees with 30-mile-an-hour South Dakota winds, that is a rough, long day.
Even 35, 40 with 10 to 20 mile an hour winds.
Oh, 20 mile an hour
has some
sucks.
chill.
Yeah.
Has some chill.
Yep.
And it doesn't matter what you're doing if you can't get out of it. If you have to sit there and, if you're glassing into the wind trying to find animals that are tucked out of the wind, because that's what you have to do.
That's what you got to do. Exactly.
It gets chilly.
It's nasty.
After that,
After that, I'm going like, I guess we really didn't talk about technically the pants that we're putting on, but I mean, like, I use same thing with like that vest. I have like a pant that is like, I either wear like the 90s from Sitka, or I wear like the Timberlines that have a little extra wind stopper. So same kind of style as the vest with the pants. But yeah, the next step would be then for me is like, I like a windbreaker coat that has a little bit of warmth in it. And so for me, that's the Jetstream. That is like probably my favorite all time coat / jacket. Really versatile, but pants wise then as an option, like if I'm just out sitting, like after I get in, is have a really lightweight down pant that you can just pull over. That I don't wear them walking around ever. They're literally just in my pack. They get pulled on, zipped up after I get a little chilled, and just set down, just keeps a little warmth in.
Sure. So you don't worry about putting them underneath your pants or anything?
I always use them as an over, yeah.
Okay.
And same thing with like coat, like I might have that Jetstream on, that I talked about. I have a down coat too that doesn't weigh anything. That like the down coat and pant I just keep in my
they
pack.
Roll up really tight.
Yeah, they can pack into like a few inches, like 6-7 inches, and you just keep them in the pack. They don't weigh much of anything, and yeah, you get chilled. I just pull that. They always goes in my overs. That way, if I got to make a move on there quick or something, I can just take them off, throw them in the pack, and go again.
Yeah.
And so it's quick. It's quick and super effective. I wish I had that kind of stuff when I was younger.
Right. And that down coat, kind of what he's talking about, is like a puffy layer.
It's super
puffy
puffy
coat.
Yep.
It allows for a little bit of heat to move around in there, but it also traps that heat in.
Yep.
So from your other layers, it's trapping that heat in.
Yep.
And that's any different name brand or of puffy coat. But it's not quiet. It's not, they're going to be the swishy ones when you're walking through something. So yeah, not ideal for spotting and stalking in.
Yeah.
But
mine are surprisingly my coat's not crazy loud.
Oh, really?
I'm impressed with it actually. Like I thought it'd be louder. Like it works pretty good though.
Not me. I'm chasing everything out of there with mine.
Yours is loud. That's funny. No, I've been impressed by that last year. I used it. I used it last year more than I've ever used it, just because I was up on a nasty fingered glass and all season long, dude. And I used that thing because it was cold.
Yeah,
but it worked good.
Definitely a lifesaver. I mean, and that's what you got to do. You got to be out there. And
it doubles as a really wicked good pillow.
Yeah,
I've used it on an elk hunt.
Mid-season naps, or if you're sitting on some hard stuff.
Yep.
I know a lot of people bring like the inflatable seat to sit on.
Yep.
Instead of packing a big thick pad. But if you're sitting on rock, that rock is pulling the heat out of your buns.
Yeah, it's uncomfortable for one, but people don't think about that too. Is You do it. The ground that time of year is cold, and what you're sitting on can make a difference in your warmth.
Yep.
So
for sure.
Just like sitting on a metal if you're in a tree stand, just like sitting if you just had your metal base versus having a pad up there, it's going to help some.
Yeah, or carpet to put your feet on.
Yeah, 100% right.
Pulling that metal pulls heat, something fierce.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go down. So we're all bulked up.
Okay.
Basically, the only other thing on top of that would be some sort of like heavyweight, like rain gear or something that completely blocks all the wind.
Yep.
To put over that puffy.
Yep.
And that's going to be for if you're sitting like all day long and the temps are getting super low.
Yep.
But
dude, and I do have Sitka's like their Blizzard parka, and it's like their big boy coat, and I did bust that out like on 2 days this year where I didn't pack in the down, and that thing takes up some space when you're taking it along with you. You're not hiking in that thing. You will roast. Mm-hmm. It is like an oven. But I tell you what, it has all the benefits of that down, but then it's got that windbreaker shell and rainproof over the top.
Yep.
It works good, but you cannot, we're not walking around in that thing. No. Like, you will die. It's so hot. But it's warm.
Yeah, similar to some of the other style of jackets where, that's like a 3-in-1 jacket where they'll have one, your base layer coats your insulation, and then that outer layer that you don't wear much, but once you throw that on, it's going to break that last little bit of chill.
Right.
Going from top all the way to the bottom, socks.
Yeah, socks, I got into that a little bit. Like, I used to wear, just my basic Under Armour socks for everything, and I still use them, early season when it's hot. Like, they do work good. But when I'm going to put on miles, when I'm elk hunting, I have changed it up because, I like using the Canatrex socks now. Mm-hmm. I feel like, I still get that breathability, but it gives you just that little extra cushion on your bottoms of your feet, which when you're putting on miles, it does make a difference. I like to use their Montanas, which is, good early season sock. They have a lighter weight one for really hot, but I figure my feet are going to sweat anyway, and so I opt to have a little bit more pad in the boot. I wear a stiff boot, so it's having that little extra pad is nice. Cold, like you said, I'll wear my Under Armour sock, and I'll throw those Canatrex Alaskas over the top, and I'll double up. But so yeah, for me, I buy my boots where they fit. I don't buy a half size bigger because I a lot of times I use my same boot for early season, and it's a non-insulated boot, but I wear it when it's cold too, and I just heavier up on the sock.
Right.
Just because I don't like hiking in heavy big boots, and my style of hunting is a lot of hiking, and so I opt to have a thinner boot in the late season. So I got to make up for it in the sock range for some warmth, and typically my feet do get a little cold. That's the one thing that I'm I should just buy a little bit heavier of a boot, but I eat it and I suffer through a little bit of it, and so far I've been okay. I haven't lost any toes, but those Alaskas from Canatrex are doubled up with a little bit of that, either those Montanas or just that Under Armour, your basic Under Armour sock.
Right.
Mid calf is what I wear, and then that high calf, those Alaskas. I seem to be surviving anyway. How about you?
Same. I go with just a single layer sock. Early season.
Yep.
Try and get fairly thin, and same thing with the the non-insulated boots. I try and keep them fairly tight, because I don't want heel slip. I don't want foot slop in the toes, because all that does is creates chafing between your toes, and then you're going to get hot spots, you're going to get blisters.
Not fun.
Now, I did listen to a podcast the other day about they had guys from Crispy. They were talking about different socks.
Okay.
And the one guy was saying he wears the toe finger socks because it keeps his toes from rubbing.
Interesting.
I can't do that. They feel goofy as all get out to me. And then another guy said he puts almost like a pantyhose style sock on, just for I can't remember I can't. It's something like that.
Yeah.
It's a long name.
Yeah. Polyurethane. Maybe?
Pretty much pantyhose.
Yeah. And I've used those before. Underneath, if I was getting hot spots, I'll wear those in and throw my Under Armours over the top.
Right.
And it works pretty good.
Yep. No, so that's one thing that I'm gonna keep in mind and pick up some of those just at a local store, and then try that. But I just switch out socks and just keep leveling up. But I try to keep it to one pair. Unless it's getting really cold and I want that extra mobility boot, then I'll double up on it.
And it's funny that you say that. Like, I try to keep it to one pair too, because I just don't like my toes feeling restricted. Like, I like to be able to move my toes a little bit, and when I feel like I double up socks, I lose like that ability to move my toes.
Yeah.
And actually, funny thing is I feel like when I've doubled up socks in the cold, sometimes my feet are actually colder.
Sure.
Like, there's no space to hold heat.
Right.
Versus if I just wear that heavy Alaska sock with my boots, I'm like, yeah, I have one less layer. You think I'd be colder, but I'm actually warmer because there's space in between the boot, my foot, and the sock to actually hold heat.
Yeah, there's definitely science to back that.
Yeah, and like what kind of woke me up to it was I would come home, my feet would be cold, and I wouldn't take my socks off, my feet would stay cold. And I'm like, weird, I'd take my socks off to get my feet warm. This is weird. Like, and then I started playing around with that. I'm like, oh, I wear less socks, my feet are actually warmer. Yep. So
yeah, same.
I don't listen to podcasts like you and learn stuff. Maybe I should start doing that.
Yep.
And I actually wear the Crispies. Like, I got them last year for the first time. Thoroughly impressed. Like, I'm wearing them again this year. I use those Summit GTXs, and dude, good luck in them.
Right.
I like the feel so far. So I think when I do buy a heavier weight, like I've been thinking about. My brother got their, can't remember which model he bought, but it has 200 grams of thin slate in it, and I was kind of like, he always complains about his feet being cold, and I'm actually kind of like in charge of his gear system. Like, I get all of his stuff because I know I want my cameraman happy and comfortable.
Right.
So like I order all of his gear, and so like when I was buying, he said he needed new boots, and I was like, I was just gonna get him the same ones I had, and I was like, no, he always complains about his feet being cold.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, yeah, but we hike so much, I don't want to get him something 400 or 600 grams. Like, so I like found good light pair that are almost as light as the Summits, but they had 200 grams of thin slate in them. I'm like, that's actually perfect. Like, his feet will be warm and sweaty in September, but if you're gonna have one boot, 200 grams at least in the winter, it gives him like a touch of warm.
Yeah.
So
no. Comfortable, warm cameraman's a happy cameraman,
exactly.
Right, Matthew?
I'm his dad, I guess. Just buy all of his gear for him.
Yep.
But yeah, dude, the thing is like people forget that like I can't be out there. I mean, I can be out there, but we can't be producing what we produce unless my cameraman's comfortable. And if he's suffering, it makes the quality of everything goes down, right? And like I want stuff to be good, so like we keep him the happiest.
Yep.
We try to keep him you feed him the most. Like, you skip a meal if you're almost out of food, you skip the meal and you give it to the cameraman. Like,
yeah,
he's your bread and butter, dude.
Yeah, when we were out there, I brought some little ham sandwiches. You would have thought I brought like the best treat ever, because he's feeding him Pop-Tarts, and then I came out and gave him little ham.
I thought I was
ham
doing
buns
good.
on Hawaiian rolls, and Matthew was just like, "Oh, these are awesome."
He was losing his mind. And then I was like, "Oh, great! I'm never taking Dustin hunting again." And like setting the standard too high. I'm like, I was just buying him his type of Pop-Tarts he liked to eat. Yep. Pop-Tarts and trail mix. We don't eat, dude. We ate so much of that in season 3, but like I don't think I've eaten but maybe 2 or 3 Pop-Tart pastries in the last 4 years since then, because we just lived on that. We were broke. Like, you bought the cheapest stuff. Oh my gosh, dude, we made it happen.
Yep.
We made it happen.
Yeah, we started talking a little bit about boots. We can just roll right into boots.
Booties, dude. Yeah, I told you what I'm using.
I'm the same. I've got some Upland boots that are non-insulated. I really like those. They're really comfortable. They're just Danners.
Yeah.
And I use those quite a bit. The only problem is, being that they're an Upland boot, they don't have a lot of tread, and they're a softer sole.
Yep.
So once you start doing some elevation stuff, they start falling off.
You can feel it. So are you gonna? Leads me to my question. We're going to New Mexico sheep hunting in February. Are you updating boots? Are you gonna go with those?
Yep. I did get some Crispies.
Oh, you did?
Yep.
Nice. Did you not, or did I not soak that in? Did you tell me?
I don't know if I did or not. But
yeah, I don't remember.
I got them. Still breaking them in.
Did you get the Summit same ones?
Yeah.
You'll be happy, dude.
I was really looking at something that I could use here and there.
Yes.
I read quite a bit on the sole stiffness.
Yeah.
Which I had no idea about before.
Right.
I was just looking at boots because it looked cool.
Right.
know?
Yeah, it's
And
something else to learn.
then you start learning that, and the stiffer the sole, it's great for like side hilling.
Yes.
Because you're going to save on your ankle. But if you're flatland hiking in, or prairie hiking like we do most here in South Dakota, it's going to be a lot harder, and it's going to be harder on your, because you're going to flat foot because there's not as much give there.
Right.
So it's going to be harder that way. And I'm like, I want something that is kind of the best of both worlds.
You meet the best of both worlds, exactly. Like, that's why I went with the Summits, because it's a 3. I actually tested out the Thors first. Like, I bought those because I was going to Colorado and I wanted something, same thing. Like, I want the best of both worlds.
And they look cool.
They are the coolest looking boot in the world, not gonna lie. And so I actually got the Thors and I took them out scouting and hiked them. And dude, I don't think I ever wore such a comfortable boot. But I snuck around on a couple of these little side hilly badlands that I hunt a lot, and I was like, it's going to be hard to sneak in these during archery season. Like, it was just a little fumbly feeling on that. So I took them back, and I actually got, so those were a 4 sole, and I took them back, and I got the Laponias, which was a 2 sole. So I jumped, I actually skipped over the Summits, and I went to a 2, and I actually hunted in them for like, I probably put 50 miles on them. I was stoked, super comfortable. But then, like, I don't know, I a couple different times, I walked and, like, through dewy grass. And I don't know if I just got unlucky and got a bad boot, but, like, I had them leak on me a couple different times. And I'm like, they're supposed to be waterproof. So I was like, so that's when I was like, and Matt was like, dude, you should have just got the Summits in the first place with the 3 sole. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to go get the Summits. And I went to the 3, and then I was, like, the happiest guy in the world. And I was like, why didn't I just get these in the first place? This is what I was debating on. And so I was super stoked that... I've put on, we estimated between 250 and 300 miles on them last year. Like, I did tear out the soles and put like different footbeds in them,
Yeah, the insoles are huge.
Yeah, it saves the feet. So, but
no, that's awesome. And the hard part too is with other boots, they don't go 4, 3, 2, 1. You've got to really read into how are they rating their boots. Because I know like Danner and Irish Setter are completely different. Different rating and different, basically different soles. But if you can get in that like Vibram sole, those are all top notch.
Yep, exactly.
What about, let's transition into like old clothes. Is there any like sentimental thing that you wear? Like, I gotta wear this hat because it's my lucky hat.
I do have a couple old hats that I keep around, and I haven't really worn them much though, because they're just rugged looking. But I have a couple hats that I've saved. Clothes I've kind of like gotten over, just because after moving into a system, you realize how worthless a lot of the stuff is to you. Yeah. But I think my like one sentimental thing that I have is like, I have this sweet custom-made like antler-handled knife, and that my dad gave me when I was little. It's nice, and like I've never used it to skin anything. It's just like I just have it. And what year was it? Season 4. Yeah, it was the end of season 4. We were like trying to fill the whitetail tag on the prairie, and just like not finding much of anything worth shooting. It's like the last day. I called up this landowner that I knew that they had like a couple of tiny little sections, and I just wanted to go hunt somewhere different. And they're like, "Yeah, our people are gone. Come on out. We have deer tearing up our corn bags. Like, whatever. We have a couple CRP spots. Like, everything's like, come on out. You can hunt this weekend, last weekend, or whatever." And like, I was like downstairs getting some stuff ready in our hunting room back west, and like I saw that knife, and I'm like, dude, I'm totally taking this for good luck. And like, I even like, we filmed it. Like, I was like, I'm taking this for good luck, and we went out there and like found this nice whitetail, and we shot him. And I was just like, it was just one of those like lucky, the lucky knife. And I wasn't even going to skin the deer with it. And I'm like, no, like, I'm skinning it. Yeah, like I brought it, like, so I used it, and it was just like really cool because it was the only deer so far that we've actually like I've used it on. And I literally sharpened it back up, cleaned it up when I got home, and I like put it back on the shelf. And I'm like, yep, saving this guy for when you need it. Like, you want to take it because it's such a cool knife all the time. But I'm like, just one of those like special guys. Like, I'm gonna save that guy. So I'm gonna save him and use it for when I need it, kind of thing. I know it's like a funny thing, but everybody's got their special deal. So what do you got?
I have an old orange stocking hat with a deer on the front that I shot my first deer ever with.
Nice.
back in Minnesota, shotgun deer.
Yep.
And I had that hat on for like every deer I shot with a shotgun.
Yes.
And now, like, I look at it and I'm like, put that back in the drawer. I don't want to lose that thing. That thing's like, that's my lucky hat. I can't have that out here.
For sure.
And it's not. It was nice in Minnesota because there's not as much wind. South Dakota, it's a little chilly blowing through that old stocking hat.
Well, I've seen you wear it.
So
I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah, that's that one. And then pheasant hunting. I have a heavyweight Carhartt sweatshirt.
For sure.
I love that thing. I wear that every time I can hunt in that thing. I'll throw my Merino underneath that, throw that heavyweight Carhartt on, and a vest, and I'm good. I don't need the big bulky coat.
Dude, I love Carhartt stuff.
Yeah,
I do.
awesome.
Like Matthew, he has a ton of it. He loves it. Like,
oh, it's awesome.
It's actually like semi-stylish. Like, I'd wear those Carhartt ones just as like my everyday coat. Like, that's what I want it for. Just, yeah. I like their gear. It is quality stuff.
That helps. And I wore it that year. It went from 60 degrees on me to 30 when I was out scouting. And I was like, holy cow. And wind. And that definitely was an added layer that I wasn't counting on throwing on. It was just what I wore out there.
Yeah, dude.
So speaking of brands,
yep.
Let's go like brand wise now. I know we talked a lot about Sitka and the layering system and stuff like that. Pre-Sitka, what were like some of your brands? What were you going with?
Sure. So now, if I wasn't going to use Sitka, I'd use Kuiu just because of the layering technicalities. Like, I would use it just for my style of hunting if I wasn't using Sitka. Before Sitka, I used Cryptek for a couple years, and that was like beginning stages, like early years of Cryptek. Like, and I'll get into that in a second. And before Cryptek, I used Cryptek. I actually used Sitka. So I actually owned, and this would have been like 2000, and I don't like 100% quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure I look at the years I was in college. It would have been like between 2009 and 10, somewhere around in there, maybe 11, somewhere between 9 and 11. I actually bought like Sitka, like Ascent pants, their early season jacket, and a few other pieces that I was tree stand hunting in them. And I have photos. Like, this was like back when I bought my first DSLR. Like, I bought it from Mike over at Heartland Bow Hunter. Like I was getting into this realm of things, and I had some Sitka pieces and killed a couple deer out of a tree stand with it back when I was still whitetail tree stand hunting. Like, that was my thing. And then everybody around, like, I was like kind of on, nobody had it where I was at. And so I was like, I like doing my own thing. I've always kind of like black sheep it. And then all of a sudden everybody started buying it. Like, it really started getting popular, and like, it pissed me off. And so I was like, so I sold it all. And because Cryptek came out, so I sold all my Sitka, and I was like, for what I sold it for, I bought a bunch of Cryptek. And I was like the only person around using Cryptek, and they were starting to build a layering system. And it was nice. It definitely wasn't the quality like of at the time. I haven't seen it since. I'm guessing their quality has really gone up too, like everybody's, because they have their own layering system now. And so I used Cryptek for a couple of years, and actually, like, I'm pretty sure season like 1 and 2 that we filmed, I was wearing Cryptek, if I remember right. I know season 2 for sure. And then we hunted again with Justin down in Mexico at the end of season 2, and we were like on the border of Mexico and New Mexico hunting mule deer in January. And we had some like crazy weather swings down there, and like a couple of our pieces like didn't fit the weather, what we were doing, and like Justin's all comfortable in his Sitka, and like he's like, why the heck don't you guys wear Sitka? And I'm like, well, I used to. He's like, dude, what are you doing, man? Like, if you're gonna do this kind of stuff with me, you gotta go get Sitka. And so so peer pressure. So he pushed me right back into the system that I had just sold and got out of, and like had a nice little base going. And so then we reverted back to Sitka, and I'm glad we did. So that's kind of been my main transition. Obviously, before that, it was like in my like high school days, it was like you just go to Cabela's or wherever, and you just buy the heavyweight coveralls, and I mean, there's the normal what we kind of all grew up with, you know. But it was before that, it was Sitka, Cryptek, Sitka. Weird. I bet not very many people have that frame or that circle of buying camo. It's been interesting.
Yeah. No, I sure don't. I definitely, same thing. Started out at your Fleet Farm, Walmart, whatever. just getting that base camo color and just buying as much as you could of whatever.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
Then I started seeing like, okay, I want to start doing some patterns.
Yep.
So back in Minnesota, I was, that mossy oak breakup, dark hardwoods.
Okay.
Fast forward, move out here, that doesn't work out in the
plains. There's a black blob out there.
Right, that's exactly what it was. There's a bear up in the tree.
Exactly.
So then I went to a scent blocker system, and that's when that kind of craze, that scent lock, scent blocker.
It was huge there for a while.
Oh,
from
goodness.
07 to like 12, 14, it was just like insane.
And, I did that route, and you got to activate it, and you got to wash it with a certain stuff, and you keep it in a storage container, and I kind of got fed up with it after a while.
Thinking back on that.
Yeah, and then
maybe that's a mean thing to say.
At that same transition, then I kind of actually basically got sold on the marketing of Under Armour. And
Matthew's got some of their stuff.
Yeah, and it's nice stuff. Definitely should have tried it out in South Dakota before I bought it.
Pattern-wise, you're talking?
No, not pattern-wise was fine.
Okay.
I have Realtree Extra.
Oh, okay. Yep.
So that pattern's fine. It's great out here. Just wind.
Oh, gotcha.
I mean, you're watching these guys on TV, and they're sitting out there, Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's no wind where they're at.
Right.
That 15, 20 mile an hour South Dakota breeze picks up. It is going right through them.
Yeah, and Matthew had their Ridge Reaper, so their next gen of stuff, Ridge Reaper stuff, it had that wind blocker built in, so that was...
No, so then from there, then I
Okay.
jumped to Sitka, and that's where I'm at now.
He took our peer pressure.
Yeah.
Dude, well, he always come with all, he had like you said, you had boxes of different stuff for like every situation, and I was like,
hodgepodge of everything.
Dude, it was like, just get one system, man. I was like, just sell all your stuff. Just then, it was awesome. Then you started getting it, which was cool.
What about matching? Are you huge, like, gotta match this, gotta match that?
I used to be definitely that way, but now I'm like, if there was something that works, like, I use a Kuiu pack with all my Sitka stuff. Obviously, it's a pack, so it doesn't matter, but like, I bought the solid colors so everything goes well. Because I look at a picture and I see like a Kuiu pant and a Sitka top or something, and I'm like, it looks kind of goofy, but as far as actually like functionability and working, like, it's not going to matter.
Right.
It's all great camo, so I don't think it's going to matter. But I mean, I enjoy wearing all my same stuff. I'm actually like really into solids right now. Like, I have like the new Territory solid pants that I'm going to elk hunt in this year. Like, I have the Pyrite Ascent pants. Like, I have the solid top that I've used for years, that heavyweight top that we talked about that throw the vest over. Like, I love mixing solids with camo. I think that's awesome.
Sure. No, there's a whole movement right now of guys that are just going to solid browns, all one color.
Sure.
Just being that solid color. I like to match my stuff. It's just the way I like to do it. I found that it doesn't matter so much if you match as if you feel invisible. Like, if you feel like your stuff matches your surrounding, you have a way higher confidence level in your hunting and your ability to disappear to that critter.
Yep.
If you can feel invisible, and for the most part, no camo's good if you're out there wiggling around and moving. I mean, if you can stay still and become part of whatever your surrounding is, you're gonna have a way higher success rate.
Right. I agree. Like you said, you could have some solids on that still blend in with the surroundings, and you're probably still going to do okay. Yeah. You know what I mean? I do enjoy having some of that stuff that breaks up the pattern, like your pattern with it. Mm-hmm. I think is good. But like you said, you got to learn to hunt still. Yeah. You got to learn to be still and minimize movement, move when you can. So.
Yeah. So I mean, whatever works for you. We just kind of ran through what we use and how we use it, but don't feel peer pressured by us to...
We're not sponsored by what we're talking about. You know what I mean? Like, we're not getting paid to say any of this. It's just what we've used over the years and some of the transitions we've made over the years that fit our hunting style and that we feel like has increased our chances of success, or just increases our ability to stay out in the field longer, or throughout days that are sucky weather. We're getting our butts kicked today by breaks in the show. We got a train coming. But anyway, thanks for jumping on, you guys. We appreciate it. Have a great rest of your day. And of course, like always,
give us a holler.
Yeah, exactly. Leave us a review or share with your friends. We always appreciate it.